What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of my HLTV Fantasy. Today we are looking at Pinnacle Fall Series 2 playoffs. Only 8 teams you can pick. For some reason, although it's 12 hours until the event and also the fantasy starts, we don't even know who the invited teams are. I don't know why Pinnacle is waiting so long, or well, I think it's Relog Media who organized these. Why they haven't announced who the invited teams are, but because they haven't announced them, HLTV can't put them into fantasy, which is annoying because they could be picked if they were already announced, but whatever. At least it's the same for everyone, and you just have to look at the teams that have made it through the previous stages of the tournament to make it this far. First off, FPX dropped out of the tournament today because they're playing a different event. I think it was IEM Winter qualifiers, and thus Havu has gotten a free win. Who should I consider is, I guess, the question. There's only 7 teams you can actually pick from, and I would say there's definitely some favorites. Mouse Next actually a contender nowadays, but the problem is that their players are quite expensive. Number one problem with them. Unique, I wouldn't pick, I guess. I don't see them as being like challenging for the title material. Galaxy Racer are a decent team that definitely could make it through, but I think I wouldn't pick them over some of the other options. Lyngby Vikings, the highest rated team out of these, and a team that I have picked a lot in my previous fantasies. For example, Malta Vibes, where definitely they were worth it. Fasher and Duff, I mean, definitely worth it so far. I am 100% considering Lyngby Vikings, especially because the players are still kind of inexpensive. And that always makes you want to consider them. Then Havu, well, the problem is that they're going to only get padding points for the first match. And that makes someone like Yemi better, probably, because, I mean, if Havu play a low amount of games and Yemi just happens to have like really good stats, even though they maybe lose this, or maybe Havu even make it through to the semis, Yemi could be worth it. He's also by far the cheapest player. So if you want to go for some more expensive players, for example, from Mouse Next, it's worth it maybe to pick Yemi. For example, Torsi is an option. So decent. Players are kinda inexpensive, except for Just. Who's their overs? That Dodo? Apparently only 0.19%. Story. I don't know who Story is. Is this a new player for them? On Saw? No. Well, kinda new, but not really. No, actually, only a week that he's played for them, and he's apparently playing AWP, I would assume. So that's an option, 180 grand for an AWP player. The problem is that there's such a low amount of games, and Nemiga is a very good team to play against. That's the last team, of course. I still rate Nemiga quite highly. And someone like Box, for example, has really put up some good stats. I remember picking him for about as much money as Lear a couple of these events, but obviously Lear has lower stats than Box in the recent times. These are some really good stats for someone who's still under 200 grand, and he entries a lot, so he's someone I consider. I think it's easier to look at this by going first with lower bracket, and I think the choice is obvious for me that it's gonna be Nemiga, because Havu, the good players from Havu aren't gonna get as many points as they could. You could go Yemi still, if I want to, depending on the players I want to go for. But I think you have to kind of go Nemiga on this lower side. There's a fair amount of Nemiga here, I would say. these are good picks. People are picking Wolfie and Fasher for a reason. Especially Fasher has been rifling very well for them. FPX, I'm sorry people, but not these 800 players picking Emmy are not gonna do too well here. He was, I think, just announced like a couple hours ago or something that FPX won't play this event. But yeah, if I want to go Namiga, I think there's great options just in general. Lollipop is pretty good as an option. These are great stats for him in Pinnacle so far. As far as IM Sis, he did well. Yeah, Sis qualifier. He's definitely a good player for them. IDIS Balance, Oppers are always good because they have a high chance of getting good stats. But these aren't like standout. These aren't like stats where you kind of have to pick them. I think Box makes a lot of sense because of high entry percentage, really good recent results, and he's under 200 grand. I believe Geo is also fragging decently, but also didn't have the best last stage. And then Lear just is very cheap, but doesn't really have these great stats usually. So I mean, he really hasn't had any good stats so far, so I probably won't go for him. Whereas I feel like Yemi has these matches and events where he actually does quite well, like for example Pinnacle so far currently. So that could be a good pick. But I think Box makes the team almost every time, and then it's probably Lollipop because I should be able to afford some good players here. And then could be Mouse next, or it could be Lingby Vikings. Based on current form, I would say Lingby Vikings a bit higher in my book. Just because also most next players are still somehow this expensive in comparison to like players on Lingby Vikings. Like these are not very expensive players. But I should definitely look at these guys and see if there's some standout players, like for example Stewie here. So if I go Mo's next, I mean they get an easier first round opponent. That also kind of matters. I would say it's an easier one. Unique versus some of these others. Like Unique aren't bad. They're, if you didn't know, they're like the X100 ping gods, I believe. Siuhu with good stats recently. Look at some of the others. And let's also look at the last 3 months rating. Yeah, that's good. Corsi, decent. Last 3 months, last month. Good as well. Wow, those are great stats for Zayn. And then Zertion. Also with damn good. I mean, that's just, again, it's something that just happens when your team does well, right? Start having these players with inflated stats, I guess you could say. I mean, it's not really inflated, but, you know, higher stats than you might expect. Just kind of looking around. Oh, you can't get Torzi for this. But also you don't have... No, wait, Torzi is the op, right? Yeah. Yeah. I feel like Yemi makes a lot of sense, honestly, for this. If you go... Almost like you leave too much money in the bank if you do this, though. I really like picking Box here, as well as Lollipop. You don't go Lollipop and you go still... You can go Torzi and Stewie. You could get IDIS Balance, actually. This is not bad at all, honestly. I mean, I was expecting that this episode would be a bit shorter than usual because there's such a low amount of teams playing. I'll kept on refreshing this a couple times to see if there's teams announced, but no. This looks like a pretty damn good team to me. I think we just go in with this. So it would be probably main op, I disbalance, and then Torsi with something like CT rating or probably multi-kill actually, one or the other. Then Siuhi, IGL, Yemi support, box entry, something along those lines. Looks pretty damn good to me, not gonna lie. Main op 88 and 10, 93 and 7. I think this makes more sense. Multifragger 57 and 33, so it's like 90%. Actually better CT rating than multifragger for Torsi. Support. I'm here. Then IGL probably. I mean, yeah, it's IGL for sure, but looking around. And then entry makes the most sense. These are really good roles. Like role-wise, you rarely get roles this good. You could go noob Yemi instead of support Yemi. But I'm hoping he has like a good enough map or couple matches, max a couple matches, I guess, that support is worth. Because I don't know if Yemi is worth it. If it's so tough. If you could go noob as well, definitely. But then again, you don't always get noob as well. It's like only 85%, whereas support is 100. I think support has to be worth. Yeah, that's good. So yeah, we don't know who Havu's next opponent even is yet. And these are like supposed to be the easiest matchups these guys get. So something like 30 bomb has the highest potential happening here. What else do we have? That's the best ones to put here. KAST is also great to have here. I think KAST Torsi. And then I disbalance with 30 bomb. Siuhi, probably our headshot guy, right? Yeah. What else happens easiest against the worst opponents? Ace, I guess, but I don't know. I don't know how do I always forget to look this up, but 2, 4, 6, 8, 16, 17, 18 is the maximum amount of boosters we can use, which is more than the total boosters. We can kind of hope that all of them get used. Rambo can just be thrown in anywhere. Pistol, like apparently I disbalance. The pistol can be against anyone. Or maybe we do actually a bit of a safer bet. I guess this is a bit safer. Siuhi with... What's the best here? Not this. Torsi is probably, yeah. He crushes top of scorecard here. Choke. Later. Flash assist can be good in all of these. One of the oppers, yeah. Assist later. Probably. Unless you do box assist. You might want to go box assist on later one, because well, assist is one of those again, which is easier to hit against worse opponent, better opponents. I think Rambo might be the pick here. And then box with, so it's gonna be Yemi probably to one, probably not yet, but against Nemiga hopefully. Box with a assist box is a thing eventually. Save or I disbalance actually later on. Grenade. Yeah, so grenade makes sense on the first round as well. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this team. We get to kind of gamble on the mouse next guys for the first time, who have been showing that they can kind of hang with the big guys, I guess. Emiga looking decent. Avu looking better than before. Yemi had a good previous stage of the tournament. And I really don't think he's 166 grand or whatever his price is. Like, he's not that bad. But yeah. I guess that's it. I'll make a Vardu league in the description down below as always. And remember to make a lineup there. Either way, remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. I will see you in the next one.